We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. Today we are looking at a strange crossover. This one is between IDW and Dynamite Entertainment. And of course, as you can see from your screen, I'm talking about G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero versus The $6 Million Man, Issue 1. This is a miniseries put out jointly by the two companies. It's written by Ryan Ferrer, artist by S.L. Gallant, inker Brian Shearer, colors by James Brown, letters Robbie Robbins, editor Tom Waltz. Now, we start off in Siberia, where Colonel Austin is landing to do a covert operation. Now, no year is given for this, but it appears to be in the 80s. It's got a very 80s feel, and it's got the original lineup of characters. So we've got Steve Austin breaking into this place, fighting a bunch of unnamed military guys, presumably Soviets, but they're never called that. And he's trying to rescue Jackson Tiller, who is a wealthy tech mogul, but it is, of course, a trap. Steve gets zapped, and who should walk in the room but the Baroness, Dr. Mindbender, and Zartan. Turns out that it is, like I said, a double cross. Then we cut over to the Utah desert, where we are at the pit, hundreds of feet below the ground, and we meet Clayton Abernathy, who is Hawk, President of the United States, Matthew G. Rosenberg, Canadian Prime Minister Henrietta Dubois, and Ramon Villalobos, the Mexican president. And they are on their way to a global peace summit that is obviously important for global peace, but also for giving G.I. Joe the authority to fight terrorism around the world. So we meet our Joes. We've got Roadblock, Rock and Roll, Lady J, Scarlet, Snake Eyes, Ghost Rider, Zap, Rakondo, Stalker, Breaker, and Ace. They are going to escort these three high-profile individuals with Commander Hawk to this meeting. And then we cut over to Switzerland at the Infinity Center, 1,422 feet, 96 floors. 2/3 of the world's wealthiest banks. Well, plane lands on the roof, and what should happen? Cobra shows up, and they take it over pretty quickly. Storm Shadow's there with a bunch of grunts and some vipers, and they take it down pretty quick. Meanwhile, in the airs over the North Sea, Air Force One is attacked with the Joes. Who should it be but Colonel Steve Austin? Hawk recognizes him and tells Mainframe to get Office of Scientific Intelligence on the line, that Colonel Austin's gone rogue, and he's trying to kill them. But by then, it's too late. Things are already out of hand. Steve's using his karate chop powers because of his bionic arm to take down a plane. He damages Air Force One irreparably, takes down the two escort planes. Meanwhile, Cobra Commander is giving a speech over the airwaves that he now controls at least the majority of the world's wealth and all that sort of thing. And so the damaged Air Force One crashes on the island, and now, thankfully, the Joes and the dignitaries are intact, but they are in a Cobra den, which means Cobra is going to attack them. And that's where the issue ends. Issue 2, the cover looks awesome. It's got Snake Eyes on it, and on the reflection of his sword is Colonel Austin. That looks really hardcore. But I have to say, this was a very simplistic story. It was very straightforward, but it was a lot of fun. It had a very 80s feel, and I really liked it. I mean, $6 Million Man was a 70s franchise, late 70s, early 80s. G.I. Joe, of course, they're using a lot of the characters from the 1980s TV cartoon. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't real serious. It wasn't heavy reading. There wasn't a lot of overuse of descriptors and pointless dialogue. It was pretty straightforward. Yeah, it's not a classic or anything, but if you like G.I. Joe, it was a lot of fun. It's a crossover I never would have thought of. Definitely took two strange properties and mashed them together to have a weird crossover, but it kind of worked. So I'm real intrigued to pick up issue 2. I recommend checking it out. I thought it was fun. I'm sure it'll be in trade paperback format eventually, but if you're just curious to see how it plays out, I would pick up the first issue, see what you think. If you're a fan from the 70s and 80s, you will definitely find some enjoyment out of it and a lot of potential for a story here. So I think the creative team did a good job. The art's okay, not my favorite, but I've seen way worse. So it's definitely not bad. It's kind of on par with what you usually find in Dynamite and IDW. Probably a little above their normal fare. I thought the planes looked really good. Yeah, overall, a fun book. I thought it was worth my $4. I'm going to recommend it. I hope you enjoy it too. Please leave a like, share, subscribe. That'll do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel, and we hope to see you on the next episode. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. Today we are looking at G.I. Joe versus the $6 Million Man from IDW and Dynamite Entertainment. Now I really liked the first issue, so I was excited to get this issue. Now let me say, the cover is awesome. I would buy a poster of this. I hope this is the cover they use for the trade paperback. It is amazing. Now we get inside and, well, it's awesome. Ryan Ferrari and artist S.L. Gallant really did a great one here. Inker Brian Shearer was awesome. Colors James Brown. Letters by Robbie Robbins. Editor Tom Waltz. Now the art is a little, not quite prime time in my opinion, but it's pretty good. I've seen a lot worse in Marvel Comics. And the paper quality is great. The cover is much better quality than anything Marvel's putting out, and the interior pages are at least on par. So I'll give them credit for that. But we start out with some of the Joes being trapped in the downed plane, and they're under fire from Colonel Austin and Cobra operatives like Baroness and Major Blood. Now, they decide to break off into two teams, a strike team and an escape team. The escape team is going to lead these dignitaries into a bank, and Scarlet, Snake Eyes, and a few others are going to steal a plane and fly toward the Cobra headquarters and do a sneak attack on them. Well, it goes pretty much according to plan. The escape team, however, has to sacrifice General Hawk. General Abernathy goes out to fight the $6 Million Man on his own, and it goes about as well as you'd think. He gets his butt kicked, and it looks like he might actually get killed. Cobra, however, is actually prepared for the surprise attack, and the 5 Joes that are in there, which are Recondo, Scarlet, Stalker, and Snake Eyes. Oh, maybe there's only 4. I thought there were 5. My bad. So those are 4 good Joes. So they are enough to do an assault-style squad. Snake Eyes is going to take an elevator shaft to the top while the others hit the stairs. Meanwhile, Rock and Roll, Lady Jane, Bazooka, and Roadblock are getting everybody to safety while the general gets his butt kicked. Now, there is another option. They were going to kill Colonel Austin using what sounded like a nuclear weapon, honestly, because he is a nuclear level threat. But Mainframe knew about an old operation. It was called Protocol Power Play, and it was a utter shock to me that they dusted this one off from the vault of the 70s. And I'm not going to tell you who it is, because if you're a fan of 70s and 80s toys, you need to get this issue. They went way back in the vault, and I was super excited to see it. I am really looking forward to issue 3. This book is amazing. It is G.I. Joe as it should be written. The characters are brave, they're adventurous, they're putting their lives on the line to do what's right and to save people's lives. And Steve Austin's life is one of them. I think they're obviously going to try and save him. And they're recruiting a retired hero from the past that is not in either of the 2 titled properties. It is awesome. So I'm super psyched to see where this goes, and I am really looking forward to issue 3. I cannot tell you how great this is to have a classic G.I. Joe story in the making in my hands. I haven't been this excited for G.I. Joe since reading Larry Hama's work in the 80s. $6 Million Man's just a nice added bonus. This is a fantastic book. Highly recommended. I wish more books would be like this and have this kind of fun action adventure without being so much nonsense politics, so much pointless blathering on. This was just a great book all around, and I'm super excited to read the next issue. Good job, IDW and Dynamite. I hope more of your books are like this, because this was fantastic. And I'm actually thinking about going and getting some of the regular G.I. Joe Real American Hero issues, but my understanding is they don't even have a lot of the main characters anymore. It's progressed it quite a bit, so I'm a little disappointed at that. But I really like going back to the nostalgia trip with the main characters like Snake Eyes and Rock and Roll and all those guys. It was a really well done book. Can't praise it enough. I thought it was a lot of fun, and it's definitely worth the $4. But that's my view, and as always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. Please be sure and hit like and subscribe, and we hope to see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero versus the $6 Million Man. This is issue 3 of the crossover from Dynamite and IDW. Now, this one picks up where we left off with Colonel Austin beating the crap out of General Hawk, and the Baroness is just kind of letting it go because she thinks it's funny, and she calls Austin a puppet because he's under their control thanks to those little things on his head. Now, 4 of the Joes, which are Zap, Rock and Roll, Lady J, and Roadblock, are trapped in the bank with the world leaders. They manage to get the world leaders into a safe, but they know that they're in a kill box. Roadblock wants to run out, but Lady J says no, and I think she actually outranks him. So they're gonna hole up there. Meanwhile, Rakondo, Stalker, Scarlet, and Snake Eyes are in Switzerland in the Infinity Center, where Cobra Commander is on the penthouse with several of his troops, and Storm Shadow. Now, a bunch of the robots are creating hassles for the Joes. Snake Eyes, of course, separated from the group to sneak up, and the others are on floor 49 working their way up. Snake Eyes has made it up to the control room, slaughtered a bunch of Cobra soldiers, and he does a pretty lethal job of it and takes control of the elevators. Now, this foils what Cobra Commander had planned, so he sends Storm Shadow down to take care of Snake Eyes and regain control of the control room. Now, General Hawk is about to get killed when backup arrives in the unexpected form of the Atomic Man, another 70s toy line which was not announced to be part of this series, which was awesome to find out the end of last issue. So he's fighting with Colonel Austin while the others try and make a break for it, and Scarlet, Rakondo, and Stalker run into Tomax and Zaymot on their climb to the 59th floor. And they're almost up to the executive floor, so they've got a fight on their hands with these two, and they are getting owned pretty bad. But Snake Eyes would back them up, but he's got his own problems because Storm Shadow shows up. Now, it says at the end of this issue, because this is more or less where it ends, that this is to be concluded. Now, it was my understanding this was a 5 or 6 part series, so I don't know what's going on that changed, but I may be wrong, but I thought it was going to be a longer series. 4-issue series is fine with me. I thought the book was fantastic. So far, everything has been really good. There's a few dialogue issues in this one I would have a little complaint about, but nothing major. Overall, this was a fun book, and I'm looking forward to getting it in trade. This was written by Ryan Ferrari, artist by S.L. Gallant, inks by Brian Shearer, colors James Brown, letters Robbie Robbins, editor Tom Waltz, assistant editor Chase Morton. I think the whole team did a great job on this. The art is not quite as good as I would like it to be, but it is very good. Snake Eyes looks really cool. Storm Shadow looks really cool, and I think this is better art than a lot of Marvel books have right now. So I think there's a lot of potential for everyone involved in this book. Colors are vibrant, the lettering is good. I think there was one little typo on the first page where he says snug instead of smug, but I'm not sure he may have meant snug because he's grabbing him around the neck. Other than that tiny problem, I think everybody did a great job on this book, and I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. It's the classic Joe characters and the $6 Million Man. Everything about it was just an adventurous, fun time, and I think it probably could have gone longer, but I think IDW might be at risk of losing their Hasbro license, so they're probably trying to wrap it up, which is unfortunate because some of their books are really good. You don't see many books that are this much fun or this nostalgic that pull it off correctly. So that being said, that's my opinion on the matter, and as always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you liked the video, hit like, and please consider subscribing, and we hope to see you on the next one.
We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at G.I. Joe versus the $6 Million Man, issue 4, from IDW and Dynamite Entertainment. This is the final issue in the 4-part miniseries, written by Ryan Ferrari, artist S.L. Gallant, inker Brian Shearer, colors by James Brown, letters by Robbie Robbins, editor Tom Waltz, assistant editor Chase Morotz, publisher Greg Goldstein. Thanks to the special appearance by another 70s toy property, Colonel Steve Austin is back to his normal self, but Cobra has an extra surprise in store. They've equipped his bionic arm with a nuclear bomb, and this of course is really bad news for the people on the island, so all the dignitaries are at risk. Meanwhile, Snake Eyes, Scarlet, Recondo, and Stalker are still in the tower trying to get to Cobra Commander. There's a really awesome multi-page fight scene between Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, and Tomax and Zama are beating the crap out of the others, and Cobra Commander might just get away. Unfortunately, when the nuke goes off, it fries communications, and Cobra is able to escape. Man, I gotta tell you, this was a great issue. It really wraps it up, sets it up for a sequel, which I really hope happens, but if it does, I really hope they bring the same team back, because the art's good, the writing is really good, the characters are handled perfectly on all fronts. I had a blast reading this. Now, what I'd really like to see is like 1 or 2 G.I. Joes doing a special mission with Colonel Austin for the sequel. Make it like the Bionic Man versus Cobra with 1 or 2 G.I. Joes in there to help him out. I think that would be amazing. So I had a blast reading this. This whole miniseries was awesome. It was a lot of fun. If you remember the $6 Million Man, even if you don't, this was a great miniseries for him, and it was a great miniseries for the classic G.I. Joe lineup. So on all fronts, if you're a 70s and 80s kid, this is nostalgia heaven. And if you're just a fan of G.I. Joe in general, this is a classic. This is a wonderful book that I'm going to continue to recommend in trade paperback form or in individual issues. Now, if you find the issues, they're probably going to be fairly inexpensive, because once they're reprinted in the trade, a lot of people aren't going to be looking for these. But I highly recommend picking them up, or pick up the trade paperback. You'll probably be able to find the single issues significantly cheaper. If you don't want to store them, get the trade. It's not going to be that expensive. It's only a 4-issue book, so it'll probably be about $15. I really recommend it. This was probably one of the best miniseries of 2018. I cannot praise this book enough. I want to read more comics like this. The cover is dynamic. All the covers were dynamic, but the one I've got is my favorite of the covers. This is cover by Kenneth Lau, which would be cover B, and I think it's the best one. I really love this series. I cannot tell you how much fun it was to read the classic G.I. Joe characters mixed with the $6 Million Man and the bonus guest appearance that younger readers are going to have no idea who he is, but trust me, if you were a child of the 70s, you probably know who it is. I thought it was just a really fun time, and it's the way comic books should be. I really hope IDW and Dynamite hear this and do more work like this, and work with the same creative team and let them do stuff like this, because this is how the characters should be handled, and I would continue to buy books like this any day. But that's just my opinion. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss future reviews, and we hope to see you on the next one.